Well, check out our latest find. This little portable Webster amplifier, the model 66 1A. It was made for wire recorders, but it looks pretty cool to us. As you get to looking at it here, there's a knob on this grill. You can see that there is a cord here for plugging into the wire recorder, I take it. Another cord here with a two-prong power. And this little grill, take that out, and the heart of what we're interested in is right there. All those little tubes. There's a little 5Y3 rectifier staring at us. And we'll reach in there and figure out what the other ones are in a second. But ostensibly these have a 6V6 and a 6S7 preamp. But let's get this thing apart and see what it looks like. Well, we've pulled the so-called chassis. And you can see back in there. Looks like a 8-inch speaker hardwired in to this little bit of fun. So we're not going to fool around too much here. None of that bringing it up on a variac or anything. We've got a cap here. We've got another one tucked underneath the tone pot and underneath this power resistor here. And a couple others that we're just going to go ahead and replace. And you can see through the grill here, there's a filter cap can right there that we'll probably also be updating before we even decide to try to plug this in. We've got some issues with tone pot is a little stiff, but the volume pot is actually frozen. So we're going to do a little bit of normal, required, and expected maintenance before we even power this up. We're going to give it a cap job. We're going to test the tubes, free up that volume pot. Then we'll probably have to modify that cable that you saw to get a guitar input in there, just to see what this thing will sound like. Alright, a little further deconstruction here finds 3 original tongue saw tubes. The one on the left is 5Y3 rectifier, 2 tongue saw 6V6s, and a Kenray 6N7. And those all came out of this area right here. I wanted to also show you that the speaker in there, there's a date code right up here on the speaker, and it's 232-748. 232 is Magnavox, I think. It may be Motorola, one or the other, but the number we care about is 748, which I think makes this a 48th week of 1947 speaker. Rolling this over a little more on the transformer, we're looking at this number here that says 549734. 734, 34th week of 1947 on the transformer manufacturer. Well, we've pulled the pots off the chassis, and we actually had to open up the volume pot, pull the back casing out just a little bit to spray in there because it's sealed. It is a 1 meg pot if you want to replace it, but we cleaned it up and it works like it should now. But the other reason we removed the pots was to get at this 25 microfarad 25 volt cap right here, because we want to replace that. So here we go. Well, there you go. And we ended up pretty much replacing every part in there, at least the ones that we had on hand. We took apart the pots and cleaned them. They're working good now. We replaced all the caps in here. There's a 25-25 back here. These 470K resistors we've replaced. We didn't have a 68K power resistor. The one that was in here was like 85, but it's supposed to be a 68. So we tacked two together to get 68 while we're waiting for parts to arrive. Same thing on the 3-prong. I've got 12 footers in stock. I don't want that long of one. It may not fit in the cabinet, so we're gonna get a little 8-footer, and we'll add a 3-prong here. But you'll notice too that there is no fuse in this circuit, so we'll more than likely add an inline fuse when we put the 3-prong in. And we didn't replace the main filter caps. We're waiting for those as well. Although the little testing we did with a bench speaker, it seems like it might be okay. It's not a good idea. These are made in 1947. They're coming up on 70, or they are 70 years old. We got to get them out of there. But for now, while we're waiting for parts, we're going to put this thing back together, just see if that speaker's any good. And I suppose I should have shown you the cable that was on there for plugging into the wire recorder. It's actually a shielded cable. So basically what we did was cut it out. And that comes in right here. And it used to pass through and sit in here with the power cable. Well, we just cut it and wired a shorting jack right there. There's not a lot of room here, but there's no problem plugging something into that, and that is our input. Didn't have to drill any holes, and hopefully we'll like it like that. But I've seen guys drill holes through the front of the chassis. If we can avoid that, we don't do it. So one of the most important things we did, give it an input jack so you can use it. Alright, so we've got to put back together, and now sitting under the fluorescent lights, we've got a little hum sitting there. It's not guitar oriented, so we're guessing that when those caps get here we better put them in. But I wanted to just show you that with the amp cranked up, this is full blast. I would say it is not very loud. We've got the tone all the way up, we've got the volume all the way up, and I think it's listed as a 10-watt amp. Maybe for wire recording it is a 10-watt amp. Sounds more like a half that, if. And it's clean all the way up with a Strat. So as you can see, got a original tube screamer over here. Got the overdrive about halfway up, the tone about halfway, the level about halfway. Could be a really fun amp, as long as you drive it a little bit. Unless you like clean. It's a good base for any pedal you might come up with. What we've really heard though is these are dynamite harp player amps, and I wouldn't doubt that that's who buys this once we get done with it. But fun little project, fun little amp, especially with a tube screamer.